Hello, everybody. I hope you're ready for some story time. We have a great one for you today, Pinocchio. So who's heard of Pinocchio? And in case you haven't, Pinocchio is the story of a puppet, also called a marionette, that goes through many struggles on his journey to becoming a real boy. And let's introduce the characters real quick. So first we have the title character of Pinocchio. Pinocchio will be aided along in his journey by the fairy with azure hair. Now, azure is also blue hair. Now, we don't have blue hair, I'm sorry, but you can use your imagination to imagine the blue hair. And opposing Pinocchio in his journey to be a real boy is the fiendish cat who tries to trick and deceive him along his way. All right, we hope you enjoy our version of Pinocchio. Centuries ago, in a land far away that we now call Italy, there was a piece of wood. It was not an expensive piece of wood, just a common block of firewood. One day, this fine piece of wood found itself in the shop of an old carpenter named Geppetto. Rubbing his hands together happily, he decided he would use it to make the leg of a table. He grasped his hatchet to get started, but as he was about to give it the first blow,
so hard.
Oh, what was that? I must be crazy.
Ow! Ow! Stop! That hurts!
Oh, where did that voice come from when there is no one around? It sounds like this piece of wood has a child inside it. Could it be?
Geppetto took his tools and began to cut and shape the wood into the shape of a marionette.
I think I'll call him a Pinocchio!
No sooner than Pinocchio was finished being built, he bounded off the workbench quickly. He ran all over the house, knocking over flower pots and tools. What a colossal mess.
Go sit in a corner, you little dwarf. I am not talking to you anymore.
I promise you that from now on I'll be good.
Children always promise that when they want something.
I promise to be good every day. I'll go to school, I'll study.
Kids always sing that song when they want their own will.
But I'm not like the other kids. I'm better than all of them, and I always tell the truth. I promise you, Father, that I'll be good and make you proud.
Okay, Pinocchio. Close your eyes and go to sleep.
The next morning, Pinocchio enthusiastically hurried off to school. Geppetto had no money, but he sure loved his little boy, so he sold his only coat for 5 gold pieces, and then bought Pinocchio an ABC book so he would be able to go to school and learn great things. As Pinocchio skipped along, his brain was busy planning hundreds of wonderful adventures. But he had barely gone half a mile when he met a three-legged cat.
Good morning, Pinocchio.
How do you know my name?
Oh, I have my ways. Now, where are you off to?
I'm off to school.
Why, in heaven's name, would you go there? Look at me. For the silly reason of wanting to go to school, I have lost a paw. Now, don't you want to get rich, young Pinocchio?
Get rich? How?
You could sell that book for 5 gold pieces. Don't you want 100, 1,000, 2,000 gold pieces for your miserable 5? Now, you could be rich and bring a warm, wonderful fur coat back home to your poor shivering father. He would be so proud of you. Now.
Okay, but how?
Now, the way is very easy. Instead of returning home, come with me on a little trip.
No, I don't want to go. I need to go to school. My father would be unhappy if I ran off.
Now, well then, you'll be sorry. Tomorrow you could have 2,000 gold pieces.
How could they possibly become so many?
Oh, haven't you heard? There's a magical field called the Field of Wonders. In this field, all you gotta do is dig a hole. And in that hole, you bury 1 gold piece. After covering up the hole with earth, you water it well, sprinkle a little bit of salt on it, then you wait 20 minutes. The gold piece sprouts, it grows, it blossoms, and then you'll have a beautiful tree that is loaded with thousands of gold pieces.
Okay. And as soon as I have them, I'll keep 1,000 for myself, and the other 1,000 I'll give to you.
A gift for me? Of course not. I do not work for personal gain, only to enrich others.
Wow, what a cool cat. Let's go.
Cat and Pinocchio walked and walked and walked. At last, toward evening, they came to an inn. There they stopped to rest and dine. But the next morning, the cat had gone. So Pinocchio paid up and set off, pointed to the Field of Wonders by the innkeeper.
I'm so tired and hungry. Look, the sun is already setting. When will I get to the Field of Wonders? A cottage! I'll stay there for the night.
Who is it knocking?
It's Pinocchio.
And who is that?
I'm a marionette. I'm tired and I'm hungry and I want rest.
A lock slid open.
Then I suppose you may rest here for the night.
A fairy with a cloud of azure hair opened the door. She invited Pinocchio in to sit by the fire and fed him cheese and freshly baked bread and a whole pail of water to drink. When Pinocchio had eaten his fill, she asked for his story. Eventually, she asked where the gold pieces he mentioned were.
I lost them.
As he spoke, his nose, long though it already was, became 2 inches longer.
And where did you lose them?
In the wood nearby.
At the second lie, his nose grew a few more inches.
If you lost them in the nearby wood. We'll look for them and find them, for everything that is lost there is always found.
Oh, now I remember. I didn't lose the gold pieces. No, I swallowed them because I needed to keep them safe from bandits.
At this, the fairy laughed, for Pinocchio's nose had become so long he couldn't even turn around. With a face Pinocchio remembered for many years to come, she said,
Oh, Pinocchio, lies are known in a moment. There are lies with short legs and long noses, but yours just now have very long noses.
And with that, the fairy retired, leaving Pinocchio to wail the whole night through as if his heart would break. You see, she was trying to teach him a lesson, so he had stopped telling lies. But in the morning she returned, and with her came 100 woodpeckers who pecked and pecked and pecked and pecked at Pinocchio's enormous nose until it was the same size as before.
My nose! It's back to normal. How good you are, my fairy. Thank you, thank you. I wish I could stay with you forever.
You're very welcome, dear Pinocchio, and perhaps you may.
May I?
Yes, of course.
But what about my poor father?
At this, the fairy said Pinocchio might fetch Geppetto to join them. And so Pinocchio set off, urged by the fairy to turn neither right nor left for anyone, but especially not for thieves and liars.
Well, looky here. It's Pinocchio. How did you happen here?
You know, it's a long story.
Is that right? And where are you going now?
To fetch my father.
To fetch your father? Now, why?
So we can go live with the blue-haired fairy.
Well then, I wish you all the best, but to think your few gold pieces might become 2,000 tomorrow, why don't you sow them in the Field of Wonders like you'd planned?
Well, how far is the Field of Wonders?
Yeah, it's only 2 miles away. Will you come with me? We'll be there in just half an hour.
Pinocchio did remember old Geppetto and the blue-haired fairy, and he did wish to return to them. But he was also not very wise, and so in the end he did what all boys do when they're several drops short of a puddle.
Let's go. I'm with you.
Here we are. Dig a hole right there and put your gold pieces into it.
Pinocchio happily dug, planting his coins and fetching water from a brook nearby to water the treasure, as the cat had told him to do. So when all was done, Cat went on his way, telling Pinocchio to wait over by the brook for 20 minutes. And then, only after that long, should he have the treasure of his dreams.
Oh, but 20 minutes never ends. What are you laughing at, Parrot?
At those simpletons who believe that gold can be sown in a field for beans or squash. I do believe that once, and I'm very sorry for it. I have concluded that in order to come by money honestly, one must work and know how to earn it with hand or brain.
But I don't know what you're talking about.
While you were waiting yonder, the cat returned here in a great hurry and took the 4 gold pieces you buried and ran away as fast as the wind.
But Cat wouldn't do. Where are the gold pieces? They must be here. Oh no! Oh no!
With a final the parrot flew away, leaving Pinocchio in his distress. This was the final straw. Pinocchio could not imagine what he would tell the fairy or Geppetto. So he turned away from the path to the cottage and instead took a different fork, wandering unknowingly toward the great sea. Pinocchio walked for so long that he didn't even remember what day it was when he finally arrived at the shore. Looking out to the ocean, he saw a little boat appearing and disappearing in the waves. Curious, Pinocchio stood on a high rock to get a better view. To his surprise, he saw his father, Geppetto, in the little boat. The marionette tried waving to him with his hand and his cap, and even with his nose. It looked as if Geppetto, though far away from the shore, recognized his son, for he took off his cap and waved to Pinocchio as well. Unfortunately, the sea was so heavy that he could not get back to shore. As Pinocchio was thinking about what to do, a huge wave suddenly appeared and came crashing down on the boat. Pinocchio cried and dove into the sea. He cut through the water at an impressive pace, occasionally appearing and disappearing in the waves. But before long, he too was completely lost to view. The sun rose, and Pinocchio awoke to find himself ashore on a small island. Wandering inland, he came upon a small country called the Land of the Busy Bees. The streets were filled with people running to and fro about their tasks. Everyone worked, everyone had something to do.
Excuse me. Please, can you... Excuse me. Hello?
Pinocchio begged those passing by for a penny to buy some food. The coal man agreed to pay him if Pinocchio helped pull a wagon.
I'm offended. I wish you to know that I have never been a donkey, nor have I ever pulled a wagon.
So much the better for you. Then, my boy, if you are really faint with hunger, eat 2 slices of bread, and I hope they don't give you indigestion.
A few minutes later, a bricklayer agreed to give him a penny if he helped to carry a pail full of plaster on his shoulder.
Plaster's so heavy. That sounds too hard for me.
If the work is too hard for you, my boy, Enjoy your yawns, and may they bring you luck.
Then a little woman went by carrying 2 water jugs.
Good woman, will you allow me to have a drink from one of your jugs?
Of course, my boy.
My thirst is gone. If only I could as easily get rid of my hunger.
Well, if you help me carry the jugs home, I'll give you a slice of bread. And a nice dish of cauliflower with sauce on top. And some cake and jam.
Okay, I'll carry the jug home for you.
The jug was very heavy, and the marionette, not being strong enough to carry it with his hands, had to put it on his head. When they arrived home, the little woman made Pinocchio sit down at the small table and placed before him the promised bread, cauliflower, and, of course, the cake. Pinocchio didn't merely eat, he devoured. His stomach was like a bottomless pit. His hunger finally appeased, he raised his head to thank his kind benefactress, but he had not looked at her long when he gave a cry of surprise and sat there with his eyes wide open, fork in the air, mouth filled with food spilling all over the place.
Why all the surprise?
You look like it's... Oh my goodness, is it you? Could it really be you? My fairy! It must be you!
Yes, it is, Pinocchio. I've missed you.
Oh, fairy! I've missed you too! You appear so much older than when I last saw you. How did you grow so quickly? Can you teach me? I also want to grow a little.
Well, but Pinocchio, you can't grow.
Why not?
Because marionettes never grow. They are born marionettes, they live marionettes, and they die marionettes.
I'm tired of always being a marionette. It's about time for me to grow up like everyone else does.
Well, you might if you learn to be responsible first. One must grow in heart before growing in body.
Really? How can I do that?
Oh, it's a very simple matter. Try to pay attention to the lessons you've been taught.
Don't you think I do?
Oh, far from it, Pinocchio. Responsible boys pay attention to their elders
I
and you.
never listen.
Responsible boys study and work.
I'm
You?
pretty lazy.
Responsible boys go gladly to school because they know they'll learn more valuable lessons there.
Ugh, I feel sick if I go to school.
Responsible boys, Pinocchio, always tell the truth.
I always tell lies. Maybe from now on, I'll try to be different.
Do you promise?
I promise. I want to become a good boy and be a comfort to my father. Where is my poor father now?
I do not know.
Will I ever be lucky enough to find him once more?
I believe so. In fact, I'm sure of it.
Okay. I'll work. I'll study. I'll do all you tell me. After all, the life of a marionette has grown very tiresome to me, and I want to become a real boy, no matter how hard it is. You promised that, right?
Yes, I promise. Now, it's up to you.
And with that, the fairy bade Pinocchio farewell, with the promise that she'd return if he kept his word. In the morning, bright and early, Pinocchio started for school. As the days passed into weeks, even the teacher praised him, for he saw him attentive, hardworking, and wide awake, always the first to come in the morning and the last to leave when school was over. One day, as Pinocchio was studiously taking his notes during class, the teacher tapped him on the shoulder to tell him he had a visitor. When he walked out of the classroom, who did he see but Geppetto? Pinocchio was filled with joy to see his father, but Geppetto was so weak he could hardly stand.
Father, lean on my arm, Father. Let's go. We will walk very, very slowly, and if we get tired, we can rest by the wayside.
Once Geppetto was settled at home, Pinocchio ran to Farmer John, who agreed to give him a glass of milk for his father if Pinocchio would draw 100 bucketfuls of water from the well. And so, without complaint, Pinocchio set to work as well as he knew how. So hard in his life. The marionette took his glass of milk and returned to his father. From that day on, for more than 5 months, Pinocchio got up every morning just as dawn was breaking and went to the farm to draw water. And every day, he was given a glass of warm milk for his poor old father, who grew stronger and better day by day. Studied by lamplight. With some of the money he had earned, he bought himself a second-hand volume of that ABC book that had a few pages missing, but even so, he learned to read in a very short time. Little by little, his diligence was rewarded. He succeeded not only in his studies, but also in his work. And a day came when he put enough money together to keep his old father comfortable and happy. One night, Pinocchio drifted off to sleep after a long day of work.
Bravo, Pinocchio. Your kind heart and hard work have shown that you've begun to take responsibility for your actions. And in return, it's time for you to grow in other ways. I'm so proud of you. Keep on doing well, and you'll be happy.
At that very moment, Pinocchio awoke and opened his eyes. What was his surprise and his joy when, on looking himself over, he saw he was no longer a marionette, but he had become a real, live boy.
I'm a real boy! Where's Father? Father, what's happened? You've grown years younger overnight. You look spick and span in your new clothes.
This sudden change in our house is all your doing, my dear Pinocchio.
What have I to do with it?
Just this, when the naughty children become a good and kind, they have the power of making their homes anew with the happiness.
How silly I was as a marionette, and how happy I am now that I've become a real boy!